So a lot of people with a health condition or a disability that I've spoken to that are applying for jobs have said that they feel blocked for applying for these jobs because of society's incorrect perceptions around disability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you experienced that? And then also, what advice would you give for employers? And this is really, really important because in my experience, a lot of employers really don't know how to manage health conditions or are very nervous. They think they'll get it wrong. So, you know, what advice would you give there?
Well, I think I've only had one situation where I've applied for a job and I've been discriminated against for my mental health, and that was actually at a care home.
Right.
So they just didn't want me to work with them because I had a mental health history, because I'm very honest about my mental health. I think being very honest about mental health is a good thing for you as the person who is employing for a job, because then the person who is like reading your application, so to speak, can research that, maybe put in a little bit more effort into learning about things. I think just because someone has a mental health difficulty or any disability, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of doing amazing things and amazing work. Like the best people I've met in my life and the most like inspirational people have had disabilities. So I think for an employer, you just need to kind of put that part aside. It's not something that's bad, like it's not, it's just something else that's a bit quirky about, you know, it's a bit spicy.
I mean, part of what we do at Human to Human is we interview people that have a health condition that are inspirational, and we interviewed a lady who was a para dressage champion. She can't see in one eye, and the other eye she can only see light. Another gentleman we interviewed, he's now a social entrepreneur and he helps other people, and he had a failed suicide attempt. And I think that's, you know, it's really important that people see skills, you know, first of all, but they're quite frightened. And I think with understanding different health conditions as well, that will help them kind of go, you know, feel comfortable and confident. Like, I can manage this situation. Let me see the skills in this person first, and then how can I work with them? So if we go through that whole kind of applying through for a job, when you see the job advert, I mean, what can be helpful in the job advert? People say we're a equal opportunities employer, but does it need to be more than that? Should it say we can support you at the interview, or if you need any help? What would be really good?
I think that would be really beneficial, actually, to say that they could support things like in interviews and stuff, because a lot of places do have that, like, first, like, oh, we accept everyone, like diversity, blah blah blah, but they don't mean it. So you don't, like, as someone who would apply for a job, I would overlook that.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't think, they're really caring.
Do you think it's more of a generic statement rather than the truth sort of thing? Okay.
I think to put, like, if you need any additional support during your interview, then it can be arranged, is actually quite useful.
Would you, on your application, would you, because it often says, do you have a disability? Do you need reasonable adjustments? Would you say you have struggle with your mental health? Would you write that? Are you comfortable in saying that? Because a lot of people don't.
No, I have never put that on my job application. Obviously, I've had the same job for about nearly 3 years. Right. So I wouldn't have had to do it again. But I probably still wouldn't do it now because of the discrimination that you get from it. And you know, it's like the same with my tattoos on my face. You know, if someone says, "Oh, you got tattoos," I don't want to hire you. You've got tattoos. Like, I wouldn't put I've got face tattoos on my job application. I wouldn't put I have this many mental health disorders on my job application. So it just looks like I'm collecting Pokemon. Like.
So what other advice then would you give, so they can put something in the advert that's more understanding, genuinely understanding, offers some support during the interview if that is what is required. So again, that kind of opens the door to sort of saying, if you need any assistance, you know, we are aware that you might, and how can we help? But what other things, you know, once somebody's employed, you know, I mean, in my experience, I've seen people kind of go, oh my gosh, they've got a disability, we don't know what to do. When somebody is employed and they have a health condition, then what would be a really good thing for an employer to do?
Well, my manager with my anxiety attacks, like, she's like given us like almost like a safe space to go to. Okay. So she's got her office. If you feel bad, like, you know, you can go and talk to her. Like, if I'm freaking out, I can go in there, I can freak out in her office and then it's okay.
Right.
Or like, I think on a really busy Halloween once, I couldn't cope with it, and she made arrangements so I could go like home. early, so I wouldn't have to deal with the pressure, because Halloween is horrible to work. It's very busy, a lot of people.
So it was a safe space, a helpful, a listening ear. So having that open, having a relationship with a line manager or your employer or HR or something where you know you can kind of go and say to them, I'm having a bit of a difficulty, I need some help.
Or even just a colleague. Like at the start, it was just one of my colleagues, you know, and she'd go to my manager and then she'd let me have a 10-minute walk, and I'd walk off to go and find my boyfriend at his job, and then he'd calm me down, because that was how I would calm down, and then I'd go back to work. But that was, you know, that's quite lenient. I wouldn't say that everyone needs to do that, but yeah, that's a really considerate thing to do, to let someone have that 5-10 minutes just to collect themselves together, basically, or even just to talk to someone, like if you need it, having that space to do so, or just having that, you know, even having a cigarette for some people can do it, you know, like that can level you out. Like, I'm not going to recommend smoking,
but just having that time out, just being allowed to have that understanding, that time out for 10 minutes. So you were also saying earlier on as well about your job, you work in a club.
Yeah.
And you were joking, so this isn't my words, this is what but you were kind of saying it's all full of like crazy people, was what you said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're, you know, you only fit in there if you've got mental health problems, that's part of like the deal. I mean, what is all that, you know, what's that like? Because some people might kind of go, whoa, but you know, it clearly is a great place to work with fun people, amazing people.
I think everyone else has their own like mental health difficulties that I work with. They're all very different. I wouldn't say that everyone has mental health, because I don't know everyone specifically, but it's almost like a little family.
Right.
Like, it is like having a little crazy family who can help you with pretty much anything. You know, I could talk to my colleagues about anything and I wouldn't worry about it. I've never like felt any different from working in there. I think that it's just an amazing place to work. There's amazing management. I don't know what they've done, but it's worked.
They've got something that they do. They've got a whole mix of people and understanding environment.
Yeah, and even like with new people that are starting, if they look nervous, I'm like, you know, if you need time out, just go and talk to the manager. She'll understand, and then they know that it's a safe space, you know, and it's not like daunting and scary, because it's not. Everyone has their own little issues. It just depends whether they're open about it or not. And I think if you're open about it, you can have quite a nice little bond with people over it, and not that obviously that competitive side of don't do that. Like, then you get a nice little bubble of support, basically.
But I suppose it also helps if you've got an employer that is empathic, rather than judgmental, though, isn't it? So if an employer is judgmental, they need to change the way they do things, don't they?
Yeah, but I've had judgmental employers as well, but I've ended up just quitting my job because I don't deal with that.
No,
that
just makes things worse, doesn't it, in the work environment? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, lovely. Well, I mean, that's been totally amazing. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.